Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Perry's Corner. I am your host, Kevin,
My name is Corey. I'm the
and
co-host.
no, we're both host and co-host, and this is our new podcast platform. And we just want to say, listen, this is a place where we're going to be covering everything under the sun, whether it's religion, sports, social, you name it. And even if you have something that you want us to talk about, movie to review, television show to watch, let us know in the comment section. We'll be more than happy to address that topic. And nothing's under the sun. Like we're going to give you real, raw truth.
Reaction truth.
You know, so, and even here for our first podcast, we decided we were going to talk about some of our favorite TV shows. And these are in no way our top shows, but these are just some good TV shows that we recommend that, whether I put him on to it, whether he put me on to it, these are great TV shows for you to watch.
hmm Yeah, we like the shows that we picked. Is like our top recommended. So it's like if I had a friend and he's like, "Hey, what can I watch today? I need something to watch," and I would just be like, "All right, I have something for you to watch. I think you might like this one." And so
Yeah,
it's going to be just like that.
facts. And even in our daily conversation, we'll hit each other with quotes, whether from TV show, from a movie, and then we'll sit back and look like, see if he get
What's,
it.
yeah, what's the movie? That's something we do daily in the house.
Yes.
Daily out in public, daily anywhere we go. We just think of something, a quote, a saying, and just look at each other and be like, hey, or we'll say it real quick and then look at you and be like, what's the movie? And you gotta get it. And if you can't, then you slipping.
Right. That's right. So without further ado, we're gonna get to our list. And some of these shows you may have seen, some of them you may not have seen. But if you haven't seen them, um, that's why we're recommending it. So we're going to start with Corey's, and these are in no particular order. It's not like, okay, they said this one first, so this is the best one or whatever. These are just the order that we just happen to choose. So starting with his first show that he's recommending.
The first show I'm recommending is Game of Thrones. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this show. It's very popular, especially with the new series for it. Now, the reason why I suggest this show is just purely good storyline and great character development. Now, I don't know who y'all favorite character is, but from day one, first episode, I had to go with my girl Arya. I don't know why I chose her. Maybe it was because she shot the arrow over her brother. I don't know. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, I have a feeling this character is going to go far. And that's exactly what she did for me. So I recommend this show highly.
Now, this is also one of my top shows. And, one of the things that we can talk about because there's 7 seasons. You can talk about who's your favorite character.
It's
I don't.
eight
My
seasons.
favorite character is 8 seasons. Not Game of Thrones is 8 seasons.
I
Nah,
swear it's eight
seven.
seasons.
No, it's only 7.
Okay. Maybe I'm tripping.
I don't know, but check this out. My favorite character on the show is Tyrion, the Imp.
hmm
Like to me, there's no Game of Thrones without him. His
That's true.
his
100%.
one-liners, his wit, his sarcasm. Like, yeah, he's my favorite guy.
Yeah, you can't beat the imp. Like I just and just the I think it's the actor alone, just the way he portrayed the character, the
Yes.
way he went about the series. I think without him, a lot of things you wouldn't have caught on to because of him. I just recently watched or re-saw a scene for him, and it was the trial scene with him and Shay.
Mm-hmm.
The man acted his butt off in that scene. If
Yes.
you actually rewatch that scene, the man is a really good actor.
Okay, well, let's talk about scenes. If you because again, whether it's 7 seasons, 8 seasons, out of all of that, can you say, okay, what's your memorable go-to scene? And I think
You
we
know what the
we have
most memorable go-to scene
I think we I
involves
think it's the same for us.
involves my favorite character and one of the most characters that everyone wanted to die.
Littlefinger.
That was Littlefinger, yes. His death scene, because it was so unexpected, especially how Arya and Sansa went about doing it. It was
Yeah, the way
very
he led up to that, um, because it seemed like he had succeeded in pitting sister against sister because that's what he was trying to do.
mhm.
And it
And
seemed,
I do want to preface this for the audience. There will be spoilers, so we do apologize for
oh
these
yeah,
shows that we pick because we have to discuss them. So there will
yeah.
be spoilers. So
And here's the thing, is it really a spoiler because these shows have been out for years?
well, there are yeah, this is very true. So
And so if you getting the spoiled, I'm sorry.
sorry for you.
But yeah, so Littlefinger, the way they set up his death and just how they led up to it, because I was thinking from a fan standpoint, I
Mhm.
was thinking when she brought her in and they had that little brief conversation, like, this is what I must do, and are you sure this is what you want to do? I'm like, she's really turning on her sister.
And you thought she was about to put her on trial.
I thought she was.
Hmm.
And
And I thought so as well, but the twist there was, well, how do you plead, Lord Bolton? It was just like
no, Lord Baelish.
Lord Baelish. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow.
Okay, do his response. Let's do his response.
Uh,
Uh,
Lady
Lady
Sansa,
Sansa, I'm a bit
I'm
confused.
confused. What are you confused by?
Yo, that
Great.
one of the best moments in television for me was
Yeah.
that scene. And trust me, that show had many memorable scenes, many
Yeah.
that we could choose from. But for me, and like you said, for you, that was the top one.
That was the top scene for memory wise.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen this show, Game of Thrones, uh, we definitely recommend this show for you to watch. All right,
Yes.
let's go to my first show that I want to recommend, Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
And another, this is another. Now I know this has 7 seasons, and this was a show that I didn't start watching till the fourth season. Actually, I had a coworker, and he was like, "Hey, are you watching Sons of Anarchy?" Man, and just being real, I'm not watching the show about white bikers. It just I didn't think I would have any interest in it. I didn't think I could connect with the show. And not being racist or prejudicial, it's just like I just didn't think that was for me until I watched it.
Mhm.
And immediately called Corey, called our son, his brother Bruce, like,
Yeah.
y'all got to watch this show, Sons of Anarchy, and went all the way back from season one and watched it all the way through. Awesome show.
Yeah. When you called me about it, I was skeptical at first as well because again, I'm no racial. I wasn't sure if I would be able to connect with a show like that. But for those type of TV shows, I always try to give it a chance because I like to watch a different variety of TV shows, even if they're all at the same time.
Hmm.
Whether it's a show like this and that involves bikers, or a comedy show, or a different type of drama, I try to keep my viewing experience broad so that I can actually watch a lot more. So when you put me on the Sons of Anarchy, I was like, all right, this actually might seem interesting. And from the first season, I was like, oh, this man is this is a really good show.
Yes,
So
and for the just the premise of the show, yes, it's about a motorcycle club, and they're into some bad stuff. And this guy here, Jax, who then becomes the president of the club, wants the club to go into legitimate business.
Hmm.
But to be legit, it was
Yeah.
so much dirt that they had to do and it was people who still wanted to keep the club, like the former president Clay. Him,
Hmm.
he wanted to keep running guns and doing drugs and prostitution. He wanted to stay in all the stuff that would keep pressure on the club, keep them in the police scope
Radar.
on
Hmm.
radar. And that's not what Jax wanted. Jax wanted a whole different direction for the club.
Right.
And that was the internal battle.
Yeah, I think for the internal battle for Jax, I think he had to struggle a lot, especially like with his mom also being like, uh, well, she lied to him for most of the show, and with her doing that, put so much more unnecessary pressure on him that
Mm,
he had to figure out and maneuver different ways where he could have just been good
right.
and led the club the correct way. But he couldn't because she lied and it was a domino effect of other rival clubs, other things getting involved that he had to keep doing bad for in order to be straight.
So,
So
all right. So, favorite character, Game Sons of Anarchy. Favorite character.
see, you might go Ope. And I'm gonna go Jax because of his character. He had I like the character development of Jax because he's started off a young kid just trying to ride bikes and do good, and he had to go through so much just to take the club in one direction that he wanted, and then to find out about his dad and everything, what his dad wanted for the club was the same
Mm-hmm.
basic thing that he wanted, and that he got killed for. So I'll go with Jax.
I got to go with Jax as well. Like you said, just to see
That's
his growth from a young kid to actually becoming the leader and making those tough decisions,
mhm.
and ultimately making the toughest decision of all.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I'm talking about?
you talking about the end, or
Yeah.
you talking?
Well, I'm talking about with Gemma, his mother.
See, and there was you say that was a tough decision of all, and I can agree with you, but because of how I view TV shows, I think it had to happen.
Well,
So
no, we know it had to happen, and if you
yeah,
don't know what we're talking
did the
about,
most she did the most foul things for him, especially with the dad. And I think the one most foul thing she did was to the wife when she killed his wife in the kitchen. It was so unexpected. And it was
mhm,
probably my most memorable scene from the show because I was literally dumbfounded that she actually did that.
yes, and just the domino effect from that alone,
Mhm.
because now my man Juice gets involved,
Yep.
and he knows what's going on, and then it was sad what happened with Juice.
It this show has so many random sad moments that you would not have realized that was coming, and it was like I don't even know how to explain the twists and turns that
Yeah,
the curveballs that this show throws.
and that's what made it such a good show.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what made it such a good show. Favorite scene, if you had to pick a favorite scene.
Well, probably the most shocking. See, I like a shocking scene, so I'm gonna have to go with the kitchen scene.
Okay. For me, I got to go with when Clay meets Mr. Mayhem.
Okay.
And if all right, so if you don't know about the show, if you were a member and you did something that was so atrocious, they would vote to see if you met Mr. Mayhem, which meant they were going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a vote, and not all the members, knowing how devious, how dirty, how conniving, backstabbing, all these things that Clay was, they couldn't get a unanimous vote for him to meet Mr. Mayhem. And then when it finally happened, here he thinking he's scotch free,
Yeah, I'm good.
and he looked at him, and then because they had voted on a direction that the club was supposed to go on, and then at the end of that meeting, he was like, "Oh, I guess there was another vote that I wasn't privy to," and Jax was like, "Yeah,"
Yeah,
and this time unanimous, and it was
he
like,
had to go.
what? They're finally going to get Clay. So yeah, that was for me. That was, but there were so many scenes like
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, like Ope in prison. Ah,
Really good show.
yeah, great show, great show. All right, let's move on to Corey's next show.
So my next show is Ozark. So if you haven't watched Ozark with what is it, Jason Bateman?
Yes,
If you haven't watched this show, go watch this show. You'll get sucked into this show on the first episode. And if you
yeah,
don't, nah, then you don't like TV. Because this show, and it was so surprising because usually you don't see this type of actor because I've only seen him in comedies.
mm-hmm,
So I was treating him like a Jim Carrey before I saw Jim Carrey in a drama movie. I saw him as a funny guy. He's going to stick with comedy. Watching him in this role really proved me wrong.
yes.
And
It showed his range as an actor.
yes, so this show was surprisingly really good. Another show with twists and turns that you don't see coming. This man has to literally figure out how to keep his family safe and alive, even when they are sabotaging the whole thing.
Oh, his wife.
His wife needed, I'm sorry,
He needed to meet Mr. Mayhem.
yes, she needed to go in the first couple episodes for what
Uh,
she was doing. She, even though she was very much needed in the show for what she was doing, she needed to go in the first couple episodes.
yeah. Favorite character.
Oh my girl. What's her name? You got, you know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Ruth.
Oh, Ruth.
Ruth.
Yes, Ruth.
Ruth. Favorite character, hands down. Favorite character, hands down. And what happened to her was so dirty. Like, uh,
Yeah.
she was the best character of the show.
I got to go with Marty. I mean, he just everything that he did. Now, okay, let's set this up. The first episode, his one of his coworkers, he works in some type of like banking, financial institution, whatever,
Mhm.
and his coworker is stealing money,
Yep.
and he doesn't even know, like he's a drug dealer basically, and the guy that he's dealing drugs for just comes up with a scheme that says somebody's stealing from me, and nobody was stealing. That's the trip
Well,
part of it.
well, no, the he was stealing.
He
He
was
just didn't
stealing,
know who.
but and he didn't really know, like the boss didn't know all of the ins and outs. Like he was
Right.
fishing for stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
come to
caught
find out he actually caught a fish. And he just was killing. Boom. Like, okay, you're gonna die. Boom. And Marty was like, well, hold up, wait a minute, wait.
and he literally and I say his friend really saved him because without his friend telling him about the Ozarks
Right.
earlier in that episode and giving him that pamphlet, tell him that it has more shoreline than somewhere else. I forgot where, but to have him remember that on while he's on his knees about to die, and then pull
Mm-hmm.
his butt basically like, hey, I got a way for you to make more money. if you keep me alive, I can do it. I can launder your money. I can launder more, way more than what we've
Mm,
been. Get you back triple as much that we were doing.
right.
Just, just to come up with that office, but and go from there in the show truly was surprising.
Favorite scene?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a hard one. I'm gonna have to come back to that one. I'm not even sure for a favorite scene because it was a lot of good moments in that show. So I'm really not sure.
Um, for me, not that it's the favorite scene, but my girl Ruth, I was, I was mad.
See, that's not a favorite scene. That's the most upsetting scene. So
Yes.
the most upsetting scene I can give you, and that is with Ruth, because I did not want her to go out at all, and for how she did it, she is truly a boss.
She was.
She was a boss throughout the whole show. She had to have it her way, not had to have it her way, but if you needed something to get done and you went to her, it was most likely going to get done.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I
Yeah. She
I
was a boss.
loved her.
She was absolutely a boss, and the one thing about these shows that I think has a common theme that nobody, the people that you think are safe because of their acting ability, because of their whoever they are as you know in their professional life, not just on the show, but you would think that some of these people, okay, they may wander off, you know, into the sunset or whatever, but they won't get killed off the show.
Mhm.
And these people are getting killed off the show. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, we
Eh,
didn't talk about that with Game of Thrones, like the first season. Ned Starks, you would think that this guy is going to be the catalyst for the entire show. And he gets killed at the end of the first season. And you're like, wait, like,
Especially because
how?
he was a prominent actor. So you really didn't expect that, especially in the first season. I could have guessed he would have died maybe in the third, fourth season, but
Not
not the end of the first.
yeah. And it's like, at that point, it was like, where's this show going? Because you done just killed off my man. Where is the show going? And it was more uh coming. Just like so with Ozark, like yeah, Ruth she didn't meet Mr. Mayhem till the end of the entire show, but
Mhm.
still it was impactful.
It was devastating to me.
So, but yeah, Ozark, great show. If you haven't seen it, go start watching it. And like Corey said, from the first episode, if
Yep.
you're not hooked,
If you don't want to go to the next episode after the first episode, something's wrong.
something something's definitely wrong. All right, let's hit my next one.
Okay, you going there.
Walking Dead.
Okay.
Now, I don't know why it switched um, the scenery here, but yes, Walking Dead. Now, this show,
This
when
show has highs and lows for
okay,
me.
so for me, one of the reasons why I picked this show is because for a lot of people, when they hear The Walking Dead, they think, oh, it's about zombies and the dead eating people, and I don't want to watch shows about zombies. This show is not about zombies.
At all.
If you've taken Walking Dead off of your list because you thought it was just about zombies, you need to put it back on your list and go and watch this show. This show, it has zombies in it, but it's not about the zombies or the Walking Dead. It's about how can we get along in this post-apocalyptic world.
Yep.
Can I trust you? Can you trust me? How do
Can we
we
survive?
survive? Huh?
I said, can we survive together?
Can we survive?
And,
And
and
that's the whole premise of the show. You know, from day one, you got all these groups who are coming together, but coming together with fear, skepticism. I don't know, because every time we try to go somewhere and work it out, and that's why my favorite character, of course, is Rick. Because you want to talk about character development. Rick was that guy that, hey, come on, let's all get along. Okay, let's work together. But
That was
by the
first.
end, Rick was like, nope, I'll kill you. I'll take you out myself.
First season, Rick was, I'm still a sheriff. I still have to uphold the law. I still have to be good.
Right.
By fourth season, Rick, he like, look, my family, we I we gotta survive. My clique, we have to survive. So what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yes. And I mean, I think that was true for the first couple of seasons. He was
Hmm.
still trying to be Sheriff Rick and not survivalist Rick, the one that had to do whatever was necessary to make sure his family, his friends were safe.
Right. Yeah.
And it just got to the point where um, Alexandria, the governor,
Yeah.
Negan,
Negan.
it was like trial after trial. And it just got to the point, like, even by the time it got to Negan, Rick was so like,
Rick
I'm
he
going
was
to kill you.
he was like, I'm going to kill no matter what happens, I'm gonna kill you. So
And Negan, who was my favorite bad guy in the show, um, was able to break Rick's spirit.
and that's one thing Rick was held on to throughout most of the show. He held on to his good spirit, and when Negan came along, it was like, well, your spirit can meet Lucille.
Yeah, yeah. But see, but because up to that point, they had overcome every obstacle that they had to face. Remember, I said Alexandria, that was the place where they went, they thought they were going for safety, and these people were cannibalism. They
Hmm.
were cannibalists. They were eating people. Remember when he had them all lined up in the trial, the dude was walking behind them, pop, hitting them with bats.
Yep.
And they were eating people, so they had to overcome that. Then they get to the governor, they find this prison. And like the prison, it's a prison. It's big enough for everybody to have space. We can clear it out, clean it out. Everybody can have their own space.
I thought the governor was eating people.
No, no, the governor wasn't eating people.
Okay.
That was at Alexandria. The governor, remember the governor, his daughter was
That's
infected.
his daughter was infected. Okay.
And he didn't want to kill her, so he still had her alive, or what,
Tied
yeah.
up.
But
He had
his,
her with like the farmer guy had people in
yes,
the barn.
in the barn, because he
Mhm.
didn't want to kill them. So, his thing was, now you get to the prison, he just wanted to take over and not work together, not do anything. So one of my favorite scenes in that show was when he finally got the governor.
Mhm.
But there's so many favorite scenes though.
See, I have two favorite characters for this show. One unfortunately had to die off in the second season, and that was Shane.
Oh, okay. Ah,
Shane was my man.
Shay was dirty, man.
He's dirty, but he was the right type of dirty.
Well, because I think more so because you like that him as an actor.
Yes,
Yeah.
I, I
Okay.
I like him as an actor, and I like how he portrayed that character. Because how he portrayed that character was really good. He knew what he wanted, but he also knew he wanted to protect people, but he didn't want to give up how he protected people.
Well, and then he wasn't expecting Rick to come back, because now
Right,
he's with Rick's wife. He's raising, Rick's
Carl.
Carl. So there was no expectation of Rick coming back, and he was kind of the leader.
Mhm.
And
So he
now
thought he
Rick
was
comes.
losing everything he gained,
Right.
losing his relationship, losing his kid, losing leadership. He
Losing
already
stat.
losing status. He already lost everyone around him, so he didn't want to lose anymore.
Right.
So,
So yeah, but
and my
uh,
my second favorite
who?
is Glenn, because Glenn was the most surviving.
You and your sister with Glenn
Because he was the most surviving character. You could not kill Glenn
till he got killed.
until he
Man.
got killed. And stop making fun of Glenn, because Glenn was the heart of the team.
He
To me,
was. He was.
he was the heart of the team, and it's like once you broke Glenn and you killed Glenn, you literally broke everyone in the team.
All right, so let's set that up because here they're captured by Negan and Negan's crew. No way out. No way out. Negan's got the whole area, and he's got people who will earn for him. Negan is boss, and Negan catches the group, and he's like, "Okay, one of y'all got to die, and I'm gonna pick which one, but one of y'all has to die." And we knew, I kind of knew, it was going to be Abraham.
I didn't know it was going to be Abraham. I really honestly wasn't sure. I was hoping it was going to be one of the lesser characters, but I didn't see Abraham coming.
I kind of saw him coming, and now after he takes Abraham out, and now Daryl gets up and hits Negan. Now Negan's got to choose another one. That's what happened. So if you want to blame somebody for Glenn, yeah,
I know. I know it was
Daryl.
Daryl's fault, but it's but still like
No,
because Daryl on one of my favorite characters too. Like if I had to choose a third character, it'd probably be Daryl. But
mm,
then again, he did kind of really get Glenn killed,
he
and
did.
he said it should have been him, and I don't want to agree with him that it should have been Daryl, but no one wanted to see Glenn go.
And that now, when you talk shock effect, for me, that was shock effect because Abraham, yes, Abraham was a bit character. He wasn't like one of the mainstay characters in the show. Like
Right.
he served his function. So him being killed off was like, okay, that's Abraham. You know, we've already seen by that point people come and go. We've seen that. So okay, he goes, oh well. But when he swung that bat and hit Glenn in the head, and Glenn said, "My God."
I love you.
I love
Now,
you.
I
And
think
that's where you and your sister kind of fell off the show.
yeah, I think a lot of people fell off the show or stopped watching the show as soon as Glenn died because it was like, yo, you just broke everyone's heart by killing one character that really did not need to die.
Yeah.
And after that, the show really to me was just going downhill.
Well, I mean, there was still
It was still
because I stayed on, you know, and I was
mhm,
trying to get you and your sister to come back. I was like, no, come on, you got to hang in there because then they introduced the Whisperers, and
mhm,
that like if you came to me and said this is how we can survive is by walking among them. Now their leader was crazy,
yeah.
but
And I didn't
what
really like
better
her
way?
either.
Huh?
I didn't really like her character either.
It was crazy. I mean, she was crazy. She was abused before all of everything happened, and now She's alpha. Now she's in a position of authority. And again, when you look at Alpha, when you look at Negan, when you look at the governor, even when you look at Rick, what's the goal? Keep my people alive. And the
Mm.
question is, how do I do that? Because in each of their own right, I think they were just really doing what they thought was necessary to keep their people alive.
I can agree. Like they were just doing what was necessary, but some of it was really like for the whisperers. If you see three different communities, like the
Hilltop,
hilltop and
Alexandria, and yeah,
and the other one, if you see three different communities all thriving, actually making food in building a whole new community, why if I'm a bad guy, not a bad guy, if I'm just trying to keep my people safe, why would I destroy something that can actually help us
right.
and stay with zombies? That's how I look at it.
And you're right. I agree with that 100%. But I think at some point, that way of life, that's what it was. Is this
Mm,
is how we live? Because I don't trust what you're doing. It looks great. It looks like you guys are thriving. But at some point, maybe in my past, I've seen other communities thriving, but I've seen the zombies come in and destroy all of that.
mm,
And the one thing that I can say is constant is us walking among them. We don't never have any problems.
right.
So I don't know, but again, great show.
Great show.
All right, next up.
Next up is Designated Survivor. Now, I remember why I watched this show, but I have uh what's our other list? Honorable mentions.
Yes.
So for an honorable mention, the only reason why I started watching this show is because I finished watching House of Cards and I needed another show that was like it.
Mm.
And I like Keith Sutherland as an actor, so when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, that seems interesting. And after the first episode, I was like, what do you mean he's president now?
Right. Right.
what what do
You
you
got to
mean?
set it up. Tell the people how he became president.
So how he became president is he's what's known as a designated survivor. So when Congress and everything come together and the president and everyone's at Congress or
For
wherever they were
the
for the
State
state
of
of
the Union.
yeah, when everyone comes together, he's the one that doesn't go and stays behind as the designated survivor in case there's an attack. Unfortunately, State of the Union, they blow it up and kill everybody there. And he's in a hotel room, not even paying attention, just watching TV, and looks out and he sees it blows. And then everybody comes in and has to swear him in as the president.
Right
And
then and on the
right
spot.
then and there on the spot. He has no clue what's going on.
Mm.
And it's like, I'm president now. What do I do now? And watching the character of that good man be thrust into that position and have to deal with backstabbing, deal with other countries and his supporters and non-supporters is just like, how would you deal with this if you were thrust in this position?
And
And
and not to mention that, but now the military people, the other governors from the other states, like nobody trusts this guy
mhm,
because even his position before all this happened, he was like a lowly senator. He
yep,
who was in charge of what the school system or something. Like he
he
had no respect.
none whatsoever from his peers. And the to watch him for not even forcibly gain, just gain their respect in how he dealt with situations was
Mm.
just phenomenal.
Remember, right after it happened, he went in the bathroom and
Mm,
and the guy that became his chief of staff
was
was
in there
actually
on the
paralyzed.
phone.
And he's like, man, we don't know what we're gonna do. They got this guy, he's the president now, and he's like, basically, he's calling him a bum. He's no good, and
He's
he
trash
comes,
talking.
he's standing right there, and he still didn't even know that's who he was.
Hmm.
Oh man!
Yeah,
But again, one of those shows from the very first episode hooks you in.
yeah. I love this show. I can actually. This is one of those shows where I could rewatch it and not have a problem completing it
Favorite
at all.
character?
Kids is something.
Yeah,
The-
hands, hands
hands
down.
down, hands down, just because of his character.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I have a favorite scene because this is now as great as this show was only 3 seasons.
It deserved more.
It definitely deserved more.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I don't have a favorite scene either. I think it was just good TV,
Yes.
and it doesn't. I don't think this is the type of show that has to have a standout moment
Mm.
because just the start of the show was stand out enough when they blew up the Capitol.
Yes.
So that would stand out enough for me. So, but
Okay.
I think this is a really great show, and a lot of people would enjoy this show.
Yes. All right. So, um, designated survivor, put that on your list. All right, let's go to the next one. My man, Dexter.
He stole Dexter from me.
Now look, now here I'll tell you the truth, right? With Dexter, I didn't watch this while it was going on. And I remember I had transferred from 51s to 63s, right?
Mm.
And the lieutenant there was like, yo, man, are you watching Dexter? And I was like, nah, not really. And he's like, oh, you gotta watch Dexter. And I'm like, and he actually had all the seasons on a VHS cassette. And
Wow,
he gave it to me. I still have that VHS cassette.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And now I'm like, um, I leave there and I think I go to Chestnut Hill and I'm like, man, I need something to watch. And you know, you flipping. Let me see what this Dexter stuff is about. Great TV.
Yes. Now, I think Dexter was set up perfectly for the type of show it was, and
Uh,
especially because of his background in his field, he was a blood splatter analyst, and he because all right. So for people who don't know who Dexter is, he's a serial killer,
mm-hmm.
kills serial killers. So
Well, not even necessarily serial killers, but I would say he's a killer of bad guys. Or
okay, or women. If you killing people, he gonna kill you.
you thought you got away with it
Yep.
because of some loophole in the courts or because of something. If you thought you got away with it, Dexter's coming for you.
You gonna meet his table.
Yes. Yeah.
You gonna
And
meet his table.
and so of course for the show he's my favorite character. Of course he's the lead actor. Uh,
Agreed.
but just how the support cast around him,
Mhm.
especially when people started finding out about him.
Yeah, when Dokes and that's what I gotta give it to. I gotta give it to Dokes because that man was like a bloodhound and he could pick up on that's just being weird.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with this.
Yeah. He was relentless in
Mhm.
trying to prove that Dexter was up to no good
And he was
to
right the
his
whole
own detriment.
yeah, because if
Because
he had left him
sometimes you
alone
can't keep poking the bear.
and Dexter told him, "Leave me alone." And Dokes would not leave it alone.
Yeah.
And because of that, he got taken out. And that's where the line for Dexter was a little blurry because yeah, he kills bad guys, but in this instance, Dokes wasn't a bad guy. He
He
was just
wasn't, but you about to blow up my spot though.
yeah, that's true. He's like, I have to take you out. You're forcing me to do a bad guy thing
Right.
when my bad guyness is only reserved for
For
legit.
bad guy, like if Dokes would have been able to understand,
Mm-hmm.
um, but that's the thing. Like Dexter was trained by his father. Like you can't tell anybody what you're doing. Nobody's going to understand, even though it may seem like you're doing this for a good reason.
Yep.
And now that puts the premise of the show in that space where is it okay for you to play judge, jury, and executioner? Like, yes, this person did some dirty stuff. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
this person may be deserving to die, but who gives you the right to do that?
Right. See, and his sister said the same thing because she reacted the same way when she found out. It was like she couldn't believe it because she's also a cop too. So it's
Mm-hmm.
how do I deal with my brother is an actual serial killer and I love him. I don't want him to die. And but I don't necessarily want it. I can't catch him myself.
And I
It's
can't agree with what he's
I can't
doing
keep
because
running.
that's that compromise. Like, how do you justify
Mhm.
what you're like the fact that you're out here? Not just we're talking bodies. He's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
bodies.
balance. Yeah, and he kept them all on slides, so you can just imagine him every other weekend going out to
Dumping,
sea, and you thinking he going fishing. That man out there dumping bodies.
dumping bodies. And when they found it, like trash bag after trash bag after trash bag, like,
Mhm.
oh my God.
He was the
It
last
was
killer in the county. I forgot what they called him, and,
uh
and they said, and I forgot how many bodies he had, but
it's no counting because like you said, he kept a blood sample from all of them and he had that little case.
mhm,
That case had to have at least what 50 slides in it.
mhm.
So yeah, he had bodies.
And then you got to remember, he survived after that.
Yeah,
Which I don't think. Did you watch the New Blood one?
I
The second.
didn't. I didn't hear good reviews about it, and I guess I shouldn't. Maybe somebody should have talked about it like this.
Uh, okay, I'll say because if you were still Dexter still on your top list, I think you should watch it
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to.
because I was wondering how he survived and everything. So and it brings back a character that I wasn't just expecting. So I think you should watch it.
All right, don't give me a spoiler alert.
I
We're
oh,
giving them spoilers, but don't give me one.
right.
All right, let's move on to your next show.
All right. My next show is Supernatural. Now, you haven't watched Supernatural.
I have not.
I don't think you're going to watch Supernatural
Probably not.
just because of the type of person you are. But for me, I think Supernatural is a really great show because it's Supernatural is like ooh, I can't say that because it's on your list. So it's like a show.
Say it. I don't care.
No, because you haven't said it yet, and it might be your last one. So
Okay.
so I it's a show you can literally jump in anywhere and start watching. Now you'll miss a lot of exposition and character development for it, but story wise, it's a really good show because it follows two brothers whose family are hunters of monsters in the spirits or anything. So
Mm.
two brothers and their journey to a kill as many monsters as possible to save as many lives as possible because nobody in the world really knows what's actually out there in the dark and they do. So they literally spend their lives on the road going town to town solving crimes that cops can't solve, that missing people, and they just travel across the states doing it. on their own dime, or
Mm,
actually on other people's dime because fake credit cards and everything. And and they not only are they chasing down monsters and everything, they're also running from the law
mm,
because
okay.
half the time they're getting framed for things that they didn't know when they're actually saving people. So you have the law coming after them, trying to saying that they're doing human sacrifices and all this, and they're not. They're literally saving people from all these things. So, and then you get where I know this might be the one of the reasons why you won't watch it because it has to deal with angels and demons, where that doesn't really pick up until I'll say the fourth or fifth season, where
Mm,
you know that that's coming until it comes. But even those parts of the story are really interesting because you get to see a different perspective of those type of characters when they introduce them.
yeah,
So
and I guess like for me, the one of the reasons why I had no real interest in the show is that part, the angels and demons. But then again, um, like okay, I know these two guys. They're going around and they're expelling these evil things. But it's like, how many seasons of Supernatural is
$15.
it? I don't need 15 seasons of.
But no, but not all of it is see, that's why I think it's good because yeah, it's like monster of the week or monster of the day, but that's not all that they do. Like it's really a story about the two brothers and their relationship and how they interact with each other. So you really watch these two brothers from when one of them is like a sophomore in college up until
Mm,
they're grown and trying like sometimes they're trying to build a family and get sucked right back into the life and like those split off and do their own thing. But it's like, how can I keep doing this job of trying to keep people safe and trying to do everything else at the same time? So it I think it character wise is that's what makes it a good show and why you can watch I could watch 15 seasons of it because it's not just all about oh I'm hunting monsters. It's literally about them and how they live.
so I guess if I'm hearing you right, it's almost like what I was saying about The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
it's more in depth than just zombies. So
mhm.
you're saying it's more in depth than just So
Not at
I
all.
will say this: I haven't watched it. I haven't had a desire to watch it, and that's one of the things that people, as you watch our broadcast, you'll see that we're just not here to say, "Oh, we just do everything together." No, like because when we come to my next show, um, there's agreement, there's some disagreement. Right now, every show that we've talked about, we've been on the same page. Now
Mhm.
we were at Supernatural. I haven't even watched it, but on your recommendation, and
See,
you've
and
been trying to be
I've been
this.
trying to get you to watch the show. I've been trying to get you to watch the show for years, and I can understand. And actually, I think you started
I never
either
did.
okay. It was must have been another show, but I I'll tell you, it might be a slow start. Actually, it's not really a slow start. It's a I have to get used to this type of show type
Hmm.
of start of because it's so old. The graphics and everything for spirits, you're going to look at it like okay, but I think
Who's the
the
guy in the
more
monkey suit?
right. So, but some of those episodes, even though they do have who's the guy in the monkey suit type episodes,
Right.
they they turn those into the comedic episode. So it's like, yeah, you're chasing down this thing, but it's funny things that happen with the characters. Dean is the older brother. He's my favorite character because he it's every other conversation is a joke. So
Mm.
and music wise, you'll love it. You'll love it music wise.
Okay.
So especially because you like rock music, Dean is your guy.
All right. So listen, for those of you that are watching this podcast and you haven't watched Supernatural either, let's watch it together and leave your comment when you start watching it and let me know what you think about it. Let us know if
Hmm.
you are in agreement with Corey that this should be one of the top shows.
I think it should be.
All right. And the only reason why I say that, because on my next show, I have been telling him to watch for years, and he watched it, but he wasn't
Okay,
really feeling it.
I watched it this year for the first time, and I've lived in Baltimore, where The Wire was filmed. No shade against Baltimore. I grew up in Philly, so walking around Baltimore is like walking around Philly to me.
Mm-hmm.
But watching this show, you see a lot of how they actually were back then. And I didn't live there through this. So when I watched this, I was at the same time me watching this, I was finishing up Snowfall for those who have watched Snowfall. And I was like, Dad's been hyping up The Wire. The Wire is such a great, everybody loves The Wire. And I'm looking at The Wire like, I just came off of Snowfall and Power.
Mm-hmm.
I, I can give y'all this show, but there it's like I watched the updated versions of this.
Yeah.
But for I can see where shows like Power and Snowfall come from watching The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
What made those shows good by watching The Wire. So I give The Wire credit because it had a lot of moments where it was like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen, or this person to die, or just for how they were. But
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you. The Wire is a good show, but I wouldn't put it at my top.
And and it was like as he was watching it, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think?" And he's just like there was no he
he,
didn't, and I
he
and it's like you said, because of the period and the time that had lapsed, we've had other great shows that have followed that. So it's almost like you going back in time, and there were some parts of it that were slow.
some parts were slow. Some
And-
seasons were slow to me. To me, for it to be what is it, 4 seasons? I think
I
four or
think
five
it's
seasons.
five. I think it's 5 seasons.
4 or 5 seasons. To me, at least three of those seasons were slow
Wow, three of them.
because it. All right, and I think it's because it's a lot of exposition, so it's a lot that has to be talked through rather than shown. So they have to talk through most of everything to figure out what's going on. And I think for me, it was sh- my attention was struggling to stay in it.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, and I kind of get that because what they were there were a lot. There was a lot going on.
right.
You had them trying to do the wiretaps. You had who was trying to be the new police commissioner. Who was trying to be the next mayor, and
It was a lot of this.
yeah, it was a lot going on. But
And
my man Omar,
now you ain't want to see Omar walking in the street
you do not want. If you were a drug dealer, you did not want to see Omar coming.
because I I always wondered why everybody was all like, "Oh, Omar, Omar, Omar." Why? Like before I watched The Wire, and then
Mm,
watching it, I was like, "Okay, now I understand why everybody is all afraid of Omar and talking about Omar in the show."
yeah,
So he's a drug dealer who robs other drug dealers.
and I don't was he a drug dealer? Uh,
No, actually, not really. He was more
no,
a thief
he was
in
a
the night.
thief. Like, yeah, I'm going to take your drugs.
Mhm. And
Um,
use
I may use it. I may get rid. I don't know. But either way, I know you got money, and I know you got drugs in this stash house, and y'all
mhm.
need to get that up. Throw
Right.
it out. window. Don't make me huff and puff. And the
Big
drugs was
Bad
coming
Wolf.
out the window. Like, yeah, don't mess with Omar.
Yeah,
Omar was my man. Um,
Lamar was all right.
yeah, I still had to put it on my list though. All
I
right,
think
now,
that was a time period piece for a lot of people.
yeah, it was because the Wire came out. It had to be. We're talking what early 2000s.
Mhm. And I wasn't watching shows like The Wire in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
So
this was early 2000s. The show was out.
yeah, so that wasn't my type of TV show. But now, as I grew older and I grew a variety of range to liking TV shows, yeah, I had to watch it at some point. So
Right,
I'm glad I did watch it this year and finally got it out the way.
you got it out of the way. And the same thing I'm gonna do with Supernatural. I'm gonna get it out the way.
Okay, I believe you.
All right,
Ted Lasso. That's my next one. So you put me on the Ted Lasso, right?
no, you put me on the tail.
True on the Ted Lasso. All right.
Yeah,
So Ted Lasso is one of those feel good, great shows. You talk about no bad episodes. I saw not one bad episode in this show. Every episode had you feel some type of different way about a certain character and the character growth and it just the energy that Ted Lasso brings in his
the pot.
character alone, the positivity that he
Yeah.
brings is so smothering that it forces you to be like, yeah, I'm watching the next episode.
And Ted Lasso is an American football coach who
Mhm.
gets sent to what, England, Germany, somewhere,
I think it's
to be a
England.
soccer coach
Yeah.
who
And
knows nothing
he
about
knows
soccer.
nothing about soccer. And he brings his friend coach along with him as a co-coach to
Hmm.
for the soccer team. And it's like coach has to basically ex- Ted doesn't he's not the type of character to research everything first. He'll leave that up to coach. And coach will explain it to him and then he'll go from there. But
Hmm.
just in how his coaching strategy is, in Ted Lasso's coaching strategy, it's like I'm not going to tell you the thing to do. I'm going to let you realize what you're doing
Why you
wrong
need to do it and
and
what
why
you
you
need.
need to do it, and you'll grow from there. And
Yeah.
that's the type of coaching that a lot of people need nowadays that they don't have.
Mm.
So,
I think he coached from a life experience
mhm,
standpoint rather than, hey, I know this game. Because he
right,
absolutely didn't know the game
yeah, at all.
at all. It was
So,
like, and it was almost like a joke of why he was hired.
mhm,
But even
he was
when the
hired
woman,
to fail.
huh?
He was hired to fail,
Right.
and
And he failed sometimes.
and that's how what I liked about it because he didn't look at it as failing. He looked at it as an opportunity to grow.
Mm,
So, and with those opportunities, he was explaining to the team, like, hey, like with Jamie Tart, when he was upset with him about not going to practice and he pulled the AI move. We talking about practice,
right.
not with your teammates out
Mm,
on the field. We ain't talking about in the game. We talking about practice with them because you can't do it because you're hurt. And he's not hurt. You just sitting here mad for no reason. So now go set up the cone and see how you want to be mad and let your teammates actually do what they need to do, seeing how you want to play games.
right.
And he looks at his friend, he's like, go set up the coach. He's like, yo, coach said for you to do it. And he's like, oh, I thought I was the big man on
Hmm.
this. And he got that chop right down the size from the coach because he needed to understand that he's part of a team and not one person.
Right. And that's what Ted Lasso was good at. He was good at focusing and building team unity,
Hmm.
not individualism.
Right.
You know, the sad part about it is that it's only 3 seasons,
Yeah, unfortunately.
and,
But
and we both wanted more of that.
it's 3 seasons, but it was 3 great seasons.
Yeah.
And that's another what was that? Jason Sudeikis? That's another actor where you know him for the funny roles, like We're the Millers, like
Hmm.
those type of movies. So to see him go from that to this type of character is
And it was funny. I mean, it was funny, but it's almost like you want to put it in the category of a comedy drama.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
not just strictly comedy, not just slapstick and all that stuff, but it has some like life
it
changing,
had
life
some heart to it.
growing, episodes.
Yeah, it had a lot of heart to it, and that's what a lot of TV shows don't have a lot of. They don't stick with most of the heart. This show stuck with heart and character building.
Mm.
A lot of the team. So I think that this would be a highly recommendable show to anybody for any type of TV they like. They'll
Now,
love this show.
now, the only difference, like this one was on Apple TV. I don't know if it's available on any other platform. Like all the rest of these shows are available on other platforms. This was Apple TV, so
It, even if you gotta buy Apple TV for 1 month, you'll binge watch this show.
you will,
And
absolutely.
it's 100% worth whatever little money you was pay for Apple TV for that month. 100% worth it.
Well, I mean, if you really want to talk about binge watching,
So
about binge watch. Now, listen,
yeah.
let me say this: I watched Suits when it came out, and I think like every show that we've talked about so far is great.
Agreed.
This is one of the greatest shows. And I told Corey, you gotta watch Suits. You gotta watch Suits. Oh, I tried.
No,
Uh,
I never
I,
said I tried.
I thought
That's
you
a
said
Bruce move. I never said I
I
tried.
thought you said you watched the couple of back in,
No,
or you never watched it.
I never watched it.
Okay, so I'm telling Corey, you gotta watch Suits. You gotta watch it. And when you talk about shock factor, because Game of Thrones, first episodes, whatever, shock factor. Ozark, first episode, shock factor.
Mhm,
Designated Survivor, first episode, shock factor. We
mhm.
get the Suits. Here the guy Harvey, who's on the left with the suit. Well, he's on the guy's right in the suit. He's a lawyer. He has to hire an associate. And here this guy kid comes along who's smart as a whip, who
Mhm.
knows the law, who got in trouble, but was studying to be a lawyer, knew the book. They meet, and I'll let you tell it from there. Since you binge watched it, we're gonna talk about your binge watching.
So how he met him, I think he was doing a drug deal and was running for I don't remember if he was running from the cops or whatever.
Running from the cops, from the
Running
undercover.
and ran into his office and dropped his suitcase with the drugs in it and he saw it. And from then on, they had a connection of all right, I'll look out for you if you look out for me because I need an associate. And he knew the bar, he knew the book, front to back, back to front. He could recite anything out that book. And that's was his test. He was like, if you can tell me this book, then
Well,
I,
remember when they were in the office, and he was like, "Well, how come you didn't? Why don't you try to do something else?" Well, I wanted to be a lawyer. I've passed the bar. And he passed the bar several times because he was taking the bar for his friends. People would
mhm.
pay him to take the bar.
Yep.
So he was like, you could ask me anything in that book. and I'll be able to give you the answer. And he sits behind Harvey's desk, and Harvey's thinking he's looking up stuff on the computer to answer. He's like, "No, I'm playing solitaire."
Right.
So, but he knew every question that Harvey was asking him, and Harvey realized, like, "Yo, this is the best dude that I'm going to come across." But
Hmm.
now we gotta fake that he's a lawyer. We have to fake that he went to Harvard.
I think that he passed the bar,
Ugh,
and if
great,
they get caught, I'm gonna go to jail.
right? Well, I'm gonna get fired definitely.
Yeah.
You know, and when I tell you, Corey binge watched this show.
So I'm a binge watch person. When I watch TV and I really get into it, I'm gonna watch the show. When I say when he says I binge watched this show, would it take me like a couple of weeks to
About
finish?
2 weeks.
About 2 weeks? How many seasons is this show?
At
I think it's
least
9 seasons
six,
total.
but I don't even remember.
I think it's 9 seasons total. I think it took me probably a month and a half to almost 2 months. Probably not even that long.
I don't even think it was that long.
I don't even think it was
I
that
truly
long
don't.
to
When I tell
finish.
you he would get off work, he would not leave his room.
I would not leave my room.
He, my wife would take him dinner in the room, or if we were having family dinner, he would come out, he would eat right back into the
Right
room.
in my room.
And I'm like, well, where you at now? Like, I just finished season 2. Like, you just started a couple of days ago.
I think that
Hooked.
was
When
the
I
first
tell you
week.
he was hooked.
That was the first week because you were like, I started it on a Tuesday, and I think by Sunday you were like, all right, where you at now? And I was like, I'm in the middle of season 2. You were like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I think it's like uh, 20 episodes, 21 episodes a season, 22 episodes a season.
Whatever it
I
is.
I would get off work. I'd watch it while I was at work if I didn't have anything to do, and I'd watch that show because it was that good
All day,
all day.
all night.
I woke up watching Suits. Went to sleep. I'm watching Suits.
And you know what? And I could really say that about all of these shows that we've talked about today.
Hmm.
Because with every show that we've mentioned, they are binge worthy shows. Like,
Yeah.
and it's almost like playing that video game where you're trying to get to that next level,
And you're stuck at
and
the boss, and you got
you got to keep playing it. It's like I remember when, and this is gonna be, we can talk about this on one of our podcasts too. Video games. I remember when you were a kid, the Legend of Zelda, the very first Legend of Zelda.
hmm
I couldn't wait to get home to play that game. It was like crack. I was like, I got to get home and play Legend of Zelda,
yeah,
and it was a long game. You had to figure stuff out. That's what some of these shows are like. When you start watching it, the storyline hooks you to where, like, I gotta see what's happening next.
yeah. And it, I love shows like that because it because they draw you in. That's a compliment to good writing.
Mm,
And shout out to the writers of the shows because without y'all, we wouldn't have good TV
right.
because y'all know how to hook people in. And
Absolutely.
this show, when I tell you it had its hooks in me, like I was sucked in. I couldn't get enough.
Yeah. All
So
right. Well, listen. These are our recommendations. Um, hopefully, if you've seen some of the shows, leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about our comments to these shows. Your comments, your reactions to these shows, what you thought about them.
mhm.
If you have any other suggestions, topics that you would like for us to cover, let us know.
Yeah, if you have any shows that you want us to watch, we'll gladly watch and give a review on them. Shows, movies, any music, put us on. We're here for you guys, and we like to as you can see, we've been talking for a good hour and 15 minutes. We
Has it
love,
been that long?
yeah.
Wow,
Doesn't even feel like it.
it does.
We've
It
been,
does. And that's one of the reasons why we want to do these type of podcasts, because these are the conversations we have anyway.
hmm
Like we'll sit around the house and we'll talk about shows. We're going to talk about music. Um, like I said, sports. You name it. These are the things that we talk about. So hey, why not talk about it and let other people hear it? Some of the things you may have already thought about, questions you may have had, we may answer them by doing these podcasts. And you know, what would be your five top shows if you had to pick out some TV shows? Let us know what your top five would be.
yeah, put them in the comments, and we'll, if we've seen them, we'll talk about them, and if we haven't seen them, we'll watch it and give a review. And y'all can tell us what was your top five moments of the show. What did you
Right.
think of? Who was your favorite character in the shows? Especially if you've watched the shows that we mentioned, who was your favorite character and what was your favorite scene of those shows? So let us know. Leave it in the comments.
All right. Well, I'm Kevin.
I'm Corey.
This is Perry's Corner, and we'll see you next time.